Welcome to this installment of The Citadel, brought to you by your friends at Trending in Education. I'm Mike Palmer. I'm joined, as always, by Brandon Jones. Brandon, welcome to The Citadel.
It's The Citadel. It's back. It's been 2 years. How I've missed you.
Oh my goodness, it's a lot of stuff.
You think winter is just now arrived, but I feel like it's been winter for 2 years here. The absence of The Citadel.
Oh my goodness,
we've been talking about like just real wonky stuff.
Yes.
And now this great content crucible is back here again. Westeros.
Yes.
We've joined you again.
All those things. And, we like to say our content strategy is get them in with the learning science and keep them with the edutainment.
That's what we say. It's on our merch,
on our t-shirts.
It's a when you get it, it's a pricey t-shirt because it's a lot of words. But
absolutely,
that's what we always say.
We're all those things, and then also we happen to be joined. Fortune would have it with another friend of the show. So Frank Jones, welcome to the Citadel. Welcome back to Trending in Education oriented content, but this is your first time on the Citadel. Welcome.
Thank you. Great to be back here on Trending in Education, and even more thrilled to be a part of the Citadel. So I can't wait to get into this. Let's get it started.
Yeah, welcome.
Let's do that. So full disclosure, Dan Strafford is out of pocket, but we are expecting Dan to be back on subsequent episodes of the Citadel. But best of luck to Dan, and for those of you who love Dan,
he's like safe and sound.
He's right? Safe and sound. Okay. He'll be back in the future, and hopefully Frank's an example of what we'll be doing a little more through the Citadel, getting more guest hosts to join us in our deep dive. So with that being said, very recently we have all watched episode 1 of season 8 Game of Thrones. Episode name was Winterfell, and first impressions, general high level, top level take on episode 1, season 8. We waited 2 years for this, Brandon. I know you've been chomping at the bit. You've been champing at the bit. You've been doing all that stuff.
Yeah, that's right.
What are your first impressions?
Yeah, I'll bat lead off here for us. Although interested to hear what you guys thought too. So this is a 6 episode season, and I think that's important as you think about like what each episode, like the water it needs to carry. So episode 1 was always going to be, I think, like medium good was going to be the ceiling for episode 1.
Yep.
There's a lot of catch up that we had to do. We had to bring a lot of people up to Winterfell. We had to resolve tidily, and I'll come back to that, too tidily, I think, some outstanding storylines. Episode 6 presumably is going to be some kind of whole series wrap up. Mm-hmm. So it'll be the 73rd episode. So I really think it's the middle 4 episodes that are going to be where this season is made or broken. Mm-hmm. But from this, so there's some things that I liked. Maybe I'll start with that and then hear what else y'all liked, and then I'll get to some of my hotter takes on things I didn't like so much.
Nice.
I liked the Arya, the series of Arya greetings.
Yep.
So the greeting with Jon, hugging it out, exchange with the Hound, I thought was nice. Exchange with Gendry, a little flirtatious there. I thought that sort of the triptych there was pretty good. I liked the R plus L equals J reveal. We should have said this at the beginning.
Spoilers.
You are going to get so spoiled.
Oh my God.
Why are you even listening to this if you haven't watched?
Stop listening now.
Just stop listening now.
Yeah.
If you haven't watched episode 1 of season 8, go watch that and then pick this back up.
Right.
If you haven't watched season 1 at all, if you haven't watched any Game of Thrones, feel free to stick around for the ride.
Just to wing it. Yeah.
So, the reveal of Sam Tarly telling Jon about his lineage, I thought was really well done. I was excited. I didn't know what episode that was coming in. I was happy that it was in episode 1 because every episode it wasn't going to be in was an episode it wasn't in.
Right.
So I thought that was going to be hanging over the show if they didn't resolve that soon.
Mm-hmm.
And as a tie back to Trending in Education, sort of the parent of this Citadel show, I think it just shows like how important education is in this show, right? So you have the person who's ostensibly the George R.R. Martin character in Sam Tarly, who's like round and bookish and lovable. George Martin is at least 2 of those things. being the one who actually delivers probably the most important news in this whole show.
Right. Because there's your deep cut that Game of Thrones is really just a pro literacy joint.
That's right.
Like that. The whole it's very pro reading.
It is.
Davos learns to read. Like they
Gilly,
listen to our trending in education proper about learning through Game of Thrones for Brandon's take on this, but very much about reading as sort of the gate opener for a world of wonder.
Indeed. Yeah. So those are some things I liked. How about you guys?
Yeah, I would echo the things. I liked Arya's greeting, right? I think when she first seen Jon, I think you could see that there was still a little bit of the old Arya in her. I don't know if you got a glimpse of that, how she almost wanted to kind of act out of her current character and kind of like run up to him and give him a big hug, but then you seen her kind of like reserve her behavior. So I thought that was a very interesting thing. I'm also glad they got the Jon being a Targaryen out there as soon as possible, because you're right. I didn't want that to kind of linger on for too long. I thought the dynamics between Sansa and Dany were very interesting, right? I mean, as to be expected, right? But to kind of witness Dany's approach to that, right? Because she could have definitely gone another way, right? Right? And the fact that I think she feels for Jon the way that she does, I think she let her slide a little bit. I think in any other context, she would have probably been checked for her behavior. So I thought that was an interesting dynamic. What else was some of the things that I really look forward to? I think the notion of Dany telling Sam that I'm the one who executed your parents, that was another interesting choice too. And I think, again, it just kind of goes to show that her leadership skills are probably, she's given the best example, I think, of what it means to follow someone that you're inspired by leading through example. That was a perfect opportunity for her to kind of gloss over that or not even mention it at all. And I think it was admirable that it is
an example where the importance of high EQ may not have made it to leadership courses in Westeros back in the day, though, because she's a little abrupt,
in how she delivered
it. But
she owned it, though.
She did own it. Yeah. And I mean, I thought I would agree with what you guys were putting out there. Like the table was well set, right? So like, this episode was a table setter. Like not a lot happened.
And it was going to have to be, again, given like
a decent amount did happen though. No, like Jon rode a dragon.
Yeah.
He found out about his heritage. Sam found out about his father. I felt like there was a lot.
Yeah. I guess nobody died. You know what I mean? And there wasn't a lot of battle action. There was a lot of like getting everybody. It's almost like on the big game board, we were getting everybody into position for the action, to your point, Brandon, that's going to happen in the next 4 shows or so. Also, I heard a lot of the shows are going to be longer than an hour. This one was actually pretty much an hour.
It's 54 minutes. This is the shortest of the 6.
Yeah. So
there's only one other that's under an hour, and then there are 3 that are an hour 20. It's actually a little over than that.
So. Yeah. And I think there was a little bit of for casual fans who maybe are, and I know a few people who are, just cutting to the chase saying like, I ain't got time to go through 7 seasons. I'm just going to watch some YouTube action and figure it out as I go. Like I've talked to a few people who are doing that. It might be fun to get one of them on the show.
That'd be interesting to hear how, because it's so much content.
It's so much content.
Yeah. Well, and they said like this show, it was just a lot of people, introducing themselves again to each other with like knowing glances. And that's like, that feels like a lot of action for those of us who've been following these characters for, 6, 7, 8 years. Yeah. But if you just are watching it, you're like, okay, so like everybody showed up in Winterfell, what's actually going to happen? And so like, I think that I feel that way, like where like, I'm kind of, table's been set. Maybe I've seen the menu, maybe I've ordered my appetizers, but nothing's really been brought out to chew on just yet. Because the stuff that we knew was a little dramatic irony too. Like we knew stuff that the characters didn't know yet.
True.
So the character needed to figure that stuff out. But there wasn't a new big reveal where like we learned something that we didn't actually know before. So that's why I'm kind of ready. I'm ready for more. but then that's what we like. So like, I think, probably could have gotten to maybe like a 6 or 7 out of 10 in terms of awesome. And it was maybe in that range. Who knows?
Yeah. There are a couple things I thought that I would downgrade it a little bit. So first the dragon ride date.
Yes.
Yeah.
So now I would assert that you need a date for Dany and Jon.
Yeah.
Because there is going to be, so Jon just found out about his lineage. Dany's going to find out about his lineage.
Did she find out in the next episode?
I think she will.
Better.
And I think that's going to be awkward.
Yes.
Yeah.
Right? So
on multiple levels.
On multiple levels, like on who's the ruler of the realm,
right.
What this relationship that they're in.
Right.
She's his aunt.
She's his aunt.
But I mean, in Westeros and even among the Targaryens, like
that's not really a deal breaker.
I don't know. I mean, it doesn't seem like it.
We'll find out.
Yeah.
But so I think that their tryst that they had at the end of season 7, where they're on a ship, they never thought they'd be on a boat, but then they were.
Mm-hmm.
I don't think you can leave it there. I think you actually need one more beat.
Yep.
To establish the romantic nature of that relationship.
Yep.
So I'm cool with that. That's fine. The smooch, it's all fine.
Uh-huh.
The thing that I thought wasn't great was the fact that they chose to use the dragon ride as the date.
Yeah.
And then they made Jon look so doofy. Like his whole he was like, whoa, I'm about to fall off a dragon. And I get that, like that's a Disney trope where you got a princess and the prince feels
how to train your dragon.
That's what I thought about when I seen that.
Yeah,
scene.
and it was so that part I was I could have done with a different choice. I was signing on for the date.
Mm-hmm.
I guess and Jon needs to learn how to ride a dragon.
It's true.
You think they just go for ice cream at Dragonstone?
You know what they got a lot of up in Winterfell? Ice cream. Probably.
Ice cream. That's true.
They used to have cream, and then winter came.
Yeah.
So I'll just get my one other out there, and then want to hear what your guys' takes were. But the other thing, and maybe the thing that was the biggest for me, thing I didn't like was the rescue of Yara.
Mm-hmm.
Mm.
So I think this just demonstrates how little the public watching actually ends up caring about the Greyjoys.
Yes.
Yeah.
So Yara is rescued by Theon. It was like 3 arrows and an axe in the head, a headbutt and a handshake.
Yeah.
And then she's like, do you got a little dinghy? Because I guess not. Because how are you getting to Winterfell? She's like, goodbye.
Right.
What is dead will never die.
Right. Right.
But that was resolved in maybe like, I don't know, it was like 6 minutes.
It was fast.
Yeah, if that.
And we have all of these storylines. Like, how long did it take for Yara to go to attempt her rescue of Theon? Was it like a season?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Right. So like, and I get that we had fast travel last season. Everything's been sort of foreshortened because of because TikTok, the time is running out.
Right.
But that felt like, boy, these characters don't really matter that much because look how quickly we tied off that loose end.
Mm-hmm. I would agree with you, except I would say Euron is kind of a big player in the plot here now. Mm-hmm. So like there's sort of like the Greyjoys I don't care about.
Right.
And then there's Euron. Because Euron's got he's bringing some action in this particular show.
Sure that guy's swagger, right?
He has
no fear in his approach.
Oh my God. Because like this is my whole basketball. I'm not sure where we would put the Greyjoys, but Euron is like, he's bringing some irrational confidence to everything that he's doing. And then what do you guys think about the whole elephants? I was hoping there'd be elephants. Any thoughts on that aspect of the story? Because that was kind of hilariously over the top, and yet somehow humanized Cersei in an interesting way. And I do find that like the acting, I also had, I was kind of binging on outside of the core content. I watched all the interviews on HBO with all the actors, and you start to
remembering
God, you start to realize how like the actress who plays Cersei, for example, just how tremendous her performance is, and how like she's able to both embody this like genuine villain, but also bring real humanity to the performance, where like even I was hoping there'd be elephants. I just found that to be, one of the nicer touches. Because you
thought that was a resemblance or a characteristic of her, like human nature side, like, oh, elephants. Like,
I just thought it was
I thought she was like, I want to trample and stomp people with the elephant. That's how I took it.
Well, I think it's a little bit of that, but I also
I think it's all of that. I'm in the Frank Jones camp here. I'm all in on the wanted to trample. It's just not going to the circus.
I'm sure she wanted to trample. I'm sure. Well, not to mention that's a whole nother angle which we need to get into is like, what are the accommodations like in Winterfell right now? I mean, I know I'm jumping around, but like I do want to get.
Sounds I brought that up. That's an excellent point. We don't have enough food to feed the Unsullied, and
what are the dragons eating?
Right. Whatever they want.
Whatever they want.
But only 15 goats and 11 sheep a day.
I'm skeptical.
Yeah,
I'm truly skeptical
because they're like depressed about how cold it is.
Yeah.
Nobody likes it up north.
But anyway, so I went from Euron to elephants to Cersei. But other aspects of the show that kind of jumped out at you that we haven't touched on.
Yeah, no Night King. Like there was at all. Like we didn't even get to see him like making any advancement. No progress. No high level shot of just him and the.
He left us
White Walkers.
He left us a present.
He did leave us.
Us a present. But okay. Maybe we can break down what that symbol represents.
Yeah, I feel like it's just some appropriation of just general pagan symbolism. Like I don't know. Like there's Ned Umber, right?
Yeah.
He's the boy,
right?
Ned Lord Umber.
Who was because also Lady Mormont, right? Is that
Lady Mormont? Yeah,
because she was the other. She made a nice appearance again.
She did,
but previously she and Ned Umber were kind of hanging out in. Or am I misreading that?
No, so there were two. There was a Karstark and an Umber whose older siblings had been killed in the Battle of the Bastards, and so there was a thought that they would give away their heritage, their homesteads to families that had been loyal. And John made the decision, which Sansa disagreed with him publicly, which was a problem they were beefing,
right?
To keep it with those children.
Right,
so there was a Karstark and an Umber, Ned Umber,
right?
The boy,
right?
So Lady Mormont was already like the head of her home, of her house. So,
but similar in that, like whatever they're doing,
a kid,
the childhood education in the North is pretty good. Like they have some sharp preteens in the North.
Yeah, although that one preteen ran into something sharper, I think.
Which is Ned Umber?
Ned Umber, yeah, because he ended up on the wall. Yeah. That startled me a little bit when he was like, ah! Like when he came back to life or whatever it was.
Yeah.
But I don't know, like, so there's the arms, so there's Ned Umber in the middle.
Yeah.
The boy.
Yeah.
And then there's like the parts of arms ending up in hands and like 8 of those.
Right.
There's like, it's a wheel, but it feels like it's just like, when I see that,
there's only so many ways I can decorate a wall with a disembodied human.
But somehow I feel because we've seen that symbol
we
before.
Have in season 1 actually that was in the same thing that was in the snow.
That's right. And somehow I believe it's been likened to or related to something about the Children of the Forest when they first made the Night King. Like whenever they stuck him with this thing, whatever type of energy radiated out from that event was shaped in that spirally type of design. So they say.
Yeah.
That's a theory.
Yeah. It definitely looks freaky.
Yeah.
It was just when I was saying appropriation of like pagan symbolism, it feels like pretty standard like freaky pagan symbol. Like, you're gonna see like spirals and circles, and you see that like all in like the all the Celtic stuff, like that symbolism is all very much of a piece with that.
Right. And speaking of Celtics, though, Tormund, not dead.
Yeah.
And then like somehow the army of the dead passed through.
Yes.
And I guess they didn't look for survivors after they knocked the wall down.
Correct.
And then somehow Tormund and who's his homeboy?
Beric Dondarrion.
Yeah. So they kind of emerged from the rubble. They're now on the other side of the army of the dead is now between them and Winterfell.
Correct.
And that was interesting because like it almost felt as though the Night King knew they would be folling him. Because why leave that there if you're not expecting somebody to discover it?
Yeah. So that's I think that's interesting. I think that's probably right. So the last hearth, that's where that was. That was one of the opening locations it was shot.
Oh, we got to talk about that too, right?
So, right, with the change in the opening scenes. Yeah. So I have a thought on that. So the last hearth, that is the Umber ancestral home. That's where he was sent to go tell his men to stay there or to come back. That's where they found his body. So Tormund and Beric and a handful of randos come down from Eastwatch, where it would have been breached, and then Dolorous Ed, which is just such a great name. Dolorous Ed and the rest of the Night's Watch also are coming down from the wall, and they meet each other there.
Right.
I guess they're going to be able to ride on horses to outride the Army of the Dead. Because Army of the Dead is slow.
Army of the Dead is huge, though, too. How do you
they're on horses. Some of them are on horses.
Some of them are on horses. Some of them are horses, probably.
And don't even get me started on Viserion.
Yeah.
Right. But Viserion will only go as fast as, he's a good undead dragon. I think he's not going to try to outpace, like if there's some laggards in the back, he'll try to keep them moving.
That's right.
Yeah. So what about the opening credits?
So first time in 8 seasons that it's been different.
Mm-hmm.
So it's they've often they've shown the different locations when they've gone to different places, but they actually changed up the whole thing.
Right.
So I thought that was interesting.
And they seem to go much deeper into fewer places.
And quite literally like underneath, like down underneath the ground, like where the ants go marching.
Yeah.
So they go to the crypts in Winterfell. They go to the whatever the hold
sewer kind of zone.
Like the hold in King's Landing where they've got the crossbow set up with the dragon head. And my take on that is like it's about as much what's underneath as what's on the surface. Like that was my dramatic interpretation of that.
Right.
But it was interesting.
Yeah.
And I guess maybe if you're like, here's the other interpretation. You're like the guy or gal who's done that opening sequence.
Yeah.
And you're like, all right, it's my last shot. Like, throw me a couple extra bills so I can get a new version.
Resume
of this.
Building, right?
Like you've been cashing in on the same action for 7 seasons.
Got to get that portfolio together.
That's exactly right.
Right. So I think we established a lot of table setting. Some interesting plot development that kind of had to happen. Mm-hmm. Maybe not a lot of surprises around the plot development. But this show, I think the way we're talking about the way the Citadel will be released is it's probably going to be like a Thursday, Friday release timing. So it's Monday now. We're breaking it down while it's fresh in our minds, which I think is smart. But then we'll be releasing it heading into the weekend. I think that means that we need to both be timely, but a lot of our takes are probably going to already be sort of out there in the world.
They've been took
most likely. But then we could start maybe predicting or prognosticating, if you will, what we anticipate coming. We're a trend spotting parent brand.
That's true.
So we want to figure out what kind of trends are we seeing in the world of Game of Thrones and what kind of predictions we might want to make. I did hear a good one around the director who typically does the big battle episodes. I believe is directing episode 3 and episode 5. So I think there's some sort of
indication that we're going to see some battling going on.
Yeah, you say indication. I was going to say scuttlebutt. But it's all basically the same thing. I just enjoy saying scuttlebutt because it's got scuttle and butt in it, so it's a double win. But I think that idea of table setting episode 1. I think intrigue, surprise plot developments, episode 2, teeing up for the big battle, the Winterfell battle
in episode 3. So
I think it's going to be episode 3.
So you're saying you don't think they're going to make it to Winterfell? They being the Night King and all of the White Walkers and the
I think maybe like a skirmish towards the end, and then like all heck's about to break loose heading into episode 3. So I'm expecting more plot development, intrigue. I think Danny's got to hear about John's history in episode 2.
I think so.
Who tells her?
Oh, that's a good question. It's either John or the field, right? So it's either like if the betting market would have the John and the field.
Yes.
So I think it should be John.
Better
be
John.
To be John, right?
Like who else could it be?
Right. I mean, it could be Sam. It could be Bran. It could come out. It could be like Davos accidentally blurting it out, like when he blurted out that John was killed.
But if it was going to be, I think that's right. To me, the best. There was a little bit of a logic to it being Sam, but now if it were Sam, it's a little bit like he's got to go chase Danny down to be like, oh, and by the way, I just told John this.
Right. In fact, I think it basically can't be Sam.
Yeah.
Because she's also like, I'm still a little burnt up. Oh, too soon that you killed my dad and brother.
Yeah.
I think it's gonna have to be Jon.
I think that.
So Jon in season 2 with the awkwardness. That's the game of Clue on this one.
And actually,
season 2, episode 2.
What's interesting?
Plus one to that.
What's interesting also though is like, does Sansa find out, or like, does anyone else in family Stark find out? Because they probably have a sense. You got to feel like Dany had a sense too, because like the dude's like climbing all over her dragons. Like that's a Targaryen core competency, right? So like the fact that he's hopping all over it, like on some level she probably knew it, but you know, you getting the pushback from the Starks who are like, what's up, bro?
Well, I thought that was very interesting too, right? And I guess it's another one of those social commentaries on, right, the fact that everyone's all up in arms about the title. I can't believe you gave up your crown in this title. And I'm like, you don't understand that there are people coming here, not people, there are the undead.
Right.
They don't give a about any of that, right?
That was like Bran, right?
Yeah,
yeah.
None of this matters right now. Like we're sitting here fighting about, you know.
I do love that because like Bran is now sort of like the voice of the viewer, where we're all like, dude, get on with your action.
No time to exchange
the army of the dead is coming. Like, yeah.
So just back to the director. So it's Miguel Sapochnik.
Yes.
I may be mispronouncing that last name.
We'll roll with it.
So he is directing 3 and 5, and he directed the big battle scenes. So Hard Home and Battle of the Bastards.
Yeah, it's one of my favorite episodes.
Both, yeah, for sure, are both his. And then David Nutter, who did Last Night's, and then is episode 2 and 4. He has done The Red Wedding was his. The Dance of Dragons, which is the Burning of Shireen episode, and then the Mother's Mercy, that's the Cersei Walk of Shame. So his, I think he's better known for like some smaller set pieces.
Right.
And if you're going to have, I think episode 3 is likely to be Battle of Winterfell. And I think episode 3 is likely, or is, I believe, the episode that has the longest battle sequence ever filmed.
Right.
So it may be like nearly the whole hour and 20 minutes,
exactly,
just for that battle,
right?
Which is going to be some intense viewing,
totally,
right? Because I thought Battle of the Bastards, Hard Home, like sitting there and watching the first wall battle, like you're sitting there and
just keeps coming.
You have to like, I have had to anyway, like remind myself, oh, I haven't breathed in like a good like minute and a half.
Yes,
I probably should resume like ventilation here.
Right.
It's going to be intense.
But to tie this to the Masters, which I definitely wanted to get that in here too, where I was talking about Tiger Targaryen winning the Masters yesterday. The Masters, they do talk about Saturday as moving day, meaning like that's when people are jockeying for position, and so it feels like episode 2 is a little bit of a moving day.
I think so
like
too.
To your point, like I feel like there probably won't be Red Wedding level, like but like something. I think the intrigue will be dialing up in the next episode. Somebody
dies in episode 2, right?
Probably. I think an allegiance. I was thinking like an allegiance flip, or like somebody does someone we don't expect to flip will flip is what I'm anticipating. Like something. I don't know how it's going to work. Maybe it's the Sansa Dany split. You know, becomes more blatant. Like what's currently seething becomes more transparent. But I just feel like it's either then, or to your point, it's either then or episode 4, because I feel like the way it's shaping up, episode 3 is just going to be lots of fighting with like undead.
There's going to definitely be people dying in episode 3.
Undead dragons versus alive dragons, and like the Night King actually out there doing his hand move. I love that hand move is baller.
It's super memeable.
But yeah, it's tough to nail the exact predictions.
There's a couple others. So this may not be for episode 2. But one of the things we haven't talked about yet from episode 1 was Chekhov's crossbow that has been given. So Bronn gets the crossbow from Qyburn.
Qyburn is, oh my God, that dude.
I like him.
He's good because he's so terrible.
Yeah. Although he's a man of science. He's like, the hand is like the from the white they bring down. It's like still like wriggling, and he's like, do you mind if I take this for my studies? So Bronn is given a crossbow by Qyburn with the instruction to go kill to kill both of the Lannister brothers.
Right. Mm-hmm.
So one of the following things will happen. Either he'll kill one of them, or both of them, or none of them.
Okay. Yes.
And I think that if it's none of them, which is what I'm hoping for, because I think
it's tough to. It's a kind of an FU to the fans if you turn Bronn.
Well, I think you can turn Bronn, but I don't think that you can have Bronn. Bronn certainly can't kill both. I would put like a lot of money on. There's no way that Bronn kills both of them. Like you're going to use right. Like you're going to use this one conceit to wipe out two of the major players.
Gun is only fired once at one character.
Yeah, so I think if it's 0, which is what I'm hoping for of the 3 options, then something is going to have to happen to him as a result of that, right? So this is precipitating some kind of action. You don't spend in a episode where you can only give 6 minutes to the rescue of Yara. You don't give 6 minutes to Bronn getting the crossbow for no reason.
Right. Abandon that. Yeah.
Right. So there's going to have to be something. My guess is that's not in episode 2. Episode 3 is where everybody's going to die.
Right.
But then not everybody's going to die because there'll be people who live to have episodes 4, 5, and 6.
Because they got to make their way to King's Landing.
They're going to have to make their way to King's Landing.
Because that's episode 5, you would think.
I would think so. I think that the battle for King's Landing is episode 5.
Right.
And my prediction is that the Night King is under-involved in the Battle of Winterfell. It's mostly the Army of the Dead. We don't get him taken out. You're not going to kill the Night King in episode 3.
No, absolutely.
Which means that I think the Army of the Dead is going to have to make its way down
towards
King's Landing. I think.
Yeah.
Or if not, then at least the surviving humans are going to have some sort of resolution with Cersei and the Gold Company. So, but my guess is that a lot of there are some real. I would guess there's no major deaths in episode 2, no or few.
Okay.
Episode 3, there's going to be a lot.
Right.
And then 4, 5, and 6 will provide us even more.
Yeah. And, it's interesting because I think you're right. And at least when I started looking at who's left, because, it was different when Littlefinger was still out there. Because, there was a sense, that dude's going to die.
Yeah.
And then he did. And then you were like, okay, he died. And now, out of the characters that are still out there, who deserves it as much as Littlefinger? Kind of
deserves it. We know that Varys and Melisandre, right?
Yes.
She predicted that she has to come back so that she can die there as well as Varys. So we know that at some point they'll probably both.
Well done.
Yeah. I think that on our definitely death list are Varys, Melisandre.
Yes.
I think Jaime Lannister.
Probably.
I would assume Cersei Lannister. There's the Valonqar prophecy, which is that she's going to get killed by the youngest son, by the younger son, who she believes, this is one that's in the books, it's not in the show, that the frog witch that she goes to see gives her that part of the prophecy too. She's always thought it's Tyrion. Jaime is the younger twin of the 2 twins, so it could be Jaime too.
Yeah.
I think Cersei's eventually going to go. I think it's probably Jaime that kills her. I would assume some number of the likable sort of
extras,
B+ players of the Hound, Tormund, Beric's definitely going to have to die. The Mountain.
Mountain might go. He'll go episode 3.
I think this Clegane Bowl is going to happen. I think that the Mountain and the Hound will fight. I predict that.
Yep.
And then of the bigs, and I would say the bigs are Dany, Jon, Tyrion, Arya, Sansa. Are there any other really big players?
I mean, Jaime's big, but you already talked about.
I think Jaime's a tier down though. Actually, he's been in my mind anyway. He's more. He's less 3-dimensional in his character than someone like.
We could come back to that.
Yeah, we can come back to that. that may be too uncharitable to him, but I think of that list, not everybody dies.
I agree.
If you're gonna have the show where literally everybody dies, nobody wants to watch that.
I think Arya. I'm expecting Arya.
Groundbreaking television, right? You've never seen a series where literally every major character
that's
dies,
true.
Right?
That's true.
That's never happened before.
I'm expecting Arya to die.
You think so?
I think she's gonna die too.
I mean, I don't know. I mean, just because she's been the Deathbringer so much.
Yeah.
That, I think it would be tough. But I've also heard that the ending is bittersweet. So bittersweet means who dies. And Jaime dying, fans are behind Jaime to a certain extent. Yeah. But we've seen enough death. It's a bit of a so what.
He's definitely gonna die, 100%.
Yeah. But then I think you gotta knock off either a Tyrion or Tyrion would be tough to kill, but
somebody that you've gone on this long journey with, right?
Yes, a character who has developed.
Like we've kind of followed Jaime, but we didn't go with Jaime as in depth as we went with Arya or Tyrion.
Right. I mean, we spent an entire friggin' season with Arya in Essos.
Yes.
That was hard. That was tough.
It was long.
So my prediction, I reserve the right to revise this in future episodes of Citadel, is that the bittersweet is that Jon dies and Dany has their child together, and she sits on the throne of a basically broken kingdom. To me, Jon, I think Jon has to die.
Yeah.
Because he already
died. Yeah.
Right.
So otherwise it's going to be like kind of awkward when everyone's like, you know, that our king died once already. Like, I feel like that's going to be like awkward in like the pubs around like in like the Riverlands.
Right.
So I think he's going to have to die. And he's the driving force.
He is.
Like,
he's the protagonist.
Yeah. He's the protagonist, the overall protagonist.
Yes.
I think he has to die. And I think if he dies and Dany dies, I feel like we're starting to get bittersweet. That's going to be bitter.
Yeah, because who would even
Sansa, I guess, could.
Yeah.
I think that's a bit of a stretch.
Yeah.
Tyrion, Cersei. Like I feel
Cersei's got to go though. I mean, it's like
she might live though.
Right?
It's possible that she.
I think she's going to get killed, but I think it's possible.
It'd be tough for her to still be on the Iron Throne though, because it's not enough movement in the final season. It would be surprising. It would be like a boring surprise.
I think that's not right. So I think that's not bittersweet. I think people will be like, that sucks.
Yeah,
I think that'd be that kind of reaction.
Exactly. So I think we're coming up to time, but I think this was a wonderful way to kick off the Citadel.
Yeah.
Any final nuggets of joy? I mean, any prep work, any notes you have in front of you right now that you want to impart to our listeners?
I've covered most of mine. I'm excited to see where this all goes. I'm excited to take this journey along with all of you.
Yeah.
It's not a closing thought, but I was thinking, so I was talking to my mom last night because it's Sunday, and I talk to my mom every Friday and Sunday, my dad too.
Nice.
And my mom said, she calls it Games of Thrones, which like makes me want to like, not, like, and my mom has like also stopped listening to our show. So like all of these things.
It's fine. You're safe. Yeah.
Yeah. So I'm like, first of all, Mom, it's Game of Thrones. But she said, do you think I should start watching it now? She's never watched an episode. I was like, definitely not. Definitely not.
Yeah, you might as well hold it now. Yeah.
So like, look, if you're listening, if you're watching, if you're on this journey with us, I look forward to the next 5 of these. We might do like a little wrap up, wrap up at the end.
I would think, yeah.
Before we leave Westeros for good.
Yeah.
Frank, it's been great having you. What else are you looking forward to? What other takes you got?
Thanks for having me again. This has been amazing. Looking forward to coming back and talking it up with you guys in future episodes. And no, I think just again, I'm intrigued. Right, I'm a late adopter.
But a complete adopter.
I'm a complete adopter, nonetheless. And I fanboyed out a bit over the summer, watching a bunch of theory videos, and so I'm intrigued. I really don't know where any of this is going. So I'm just sitting back, enjoying the ride.
Awesome. And hopefully our listeners are doing the same. Hit us up on at Trending in Ed on Twitter, or follow us Trending in Education on Facebook. We'll be back with our regularly scheduled Trending in Education programming on Tuesdays. And then throughout this run of Game of Thrones, the Citadel will be dropping towards the end of the week. Let us know what you think. Let us know how you feel about Learning and Education podcast, taking a bit of a detour into the world of Westeros. We're having a lot of fun with it, and we'd love to hear from you. And with that, that'll put a wrap on episode 1 of our final season of The Citadel. Thanks again for listening.